Marcus Schmidt, Gobblefunk. Gobblefunk, Marcus Schmidt.
Gobblefunk? What is that, you may ask? Is that some kind of style of music where you do a weird dance while stuffing your face? Or is it an unpleasant odor that is prevalent around turkeys? Get it? Gobblefunk? No, it is an actual word which means playing with words to form new meanings. Now, if you've never heard that before, please don't feel illiterate. I had not heard this word till about 2 months ago, and it was because my wife brought it to my attention. She, in turn, had heard it from a very prestigious person, namely the Prime Minister of Britain, but it was coined by British author Roald Dahl. Honored judges, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests, how many words can you think of that were introduced during your lifetime that at first seemed like they were just made up because they were words just mashed together into something new, and now they're in our common vernacular? I mean, things like staycation, hangry, and podcast didn't even exist when I was growing up. Speaking of podcast, the first time that my wife heard that word, she couldn't help but ask, well, how far are those pea pods being thrown? Yes, I know that's silly, but in her defense, how comfortable are you with some of these newfangled expressions like farcation, angertainment, and blendamentals? And the latest doozy I've heard, Kissinger. Now, Kissinger has nothing to do with the former Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, Henry Kissinger, for you history buffs. No, this is a synthetic set of lips which you put on your mouth, you kiss into it, it records parameters about your kiss, transmits those over your cell phone to someone else's cell phone, who then has another synthetic set of lips, and then it mimics how you kissed. Yes, I did not make this up. I heard this on the Prime Evening News. Well, it's not how I would choose a mate, but to each his own. Now, besides gobblefunk corroding our language, we've got abbreviations from text messages weaseling their way into our spoken language. Things like LOL and BFF are commonplace, but watch out. It won't be long till you hear PMSL, peeing myself laughing, and GOAT. Yes, you heard me. Goat. Isn't that bad? Now, goat being a creature with an undiscretionary appetite. If you called me a goat, I might think you are insulting me and implying that I do not have a sophisticated palate. Excuse me. In religious circles, it could be seen as something bad, because after all, in the parable of the sheep and the goats, the sheep on the right are blessed, but the goats on the left are cursed. But no, it is one of the highest compliments you can bestow on someone, greatest of all time. Though used primarily in sports circles, I wonder how long it will be till I hear a eulogy at a memorial service where someone with reverence says, he or she was a true goat. Adding to the confusion is when people take abbreviations of text and abbreviate those. Let me illustrate. Last fall, I'm just chilling on my couch watching the evening news when the sportscaster comes on and says, the Cards need a dub. The Cards, let's see, it is football season. They must be talking about the Cardinals, but dub, why would they need a soundtrack different from the original? No, that couldn't be. So I started looking up different definitions of dub, and there were over half a dozen of them. One of them was an unskilled person. No, that's the last thing the Cardinals needed with their 3-6 record at the time. None of the other definitions fit any better. So I'm just scratching my noggin and thinking, what could this be? Well, let's see. I knew they needed a win. Oh, it dawned on me. Win is abbreviated with a W in texting. But since W is 3 syllables, when you speak it, you abbreviate it to dub. But wait a minute, win is also 1 syllable. So what have you gained? Nothing. See, if you want to gain clarity in your message, please stay away from those obscure abbreviations and definitely the abbreviations of abbreviations. And if you don't want to lose your audience, stay away from those gobble-funked words. After all, we don't need another word in the English language. There's already over 1 million of them. Since clarity is every Toastmaster's objective, I trust that you will join me in stemming the tide against textifying. Yes, textifying, incorporating text abbreviations into the spoken language. Isn't that a word? Or am I guilty of gobblefunk?